last but not least, Wyatt Oleff, who plays Stanley. Hi guys. We just met backstage like 2 seconds ago, but but we're ready. How are y'all feeling?
Feeling great. Feeling great.
Wonderful.
Yeah? All right, so let's start with our first question. Well, all can answer this. What was it like seeing Pennywise in costume for the first time? Was it scary or was it just a normal day at work? Yeah, you can go this way.
For me, honestly, especially because I got my arm bit off, in fact, I didn't even know what I was getting into. So, the first time I saw him,
the first time
I saw him, I was like, whoa, okay.
Did you have nightmares?
No, I never had any nightmares. One of the main things that helped me with it, especially, that helped me make sure that this was not real, was because me and Bill, like, without makeup, would hang out all the time, so, yeah, that kind of helped me a bit. So,
yeah, before filming started, you got to get acquainted
so
with.
I was just like, whoa, hey, Bill.
You look different.
Seriously.
What about for you two? Was it shocking?
Well, as you guys know, we actually didn't see Bill Skarsgård in makeup until in the middle of a take. So that was it was really surreal because we were all so excited to see him, but at the same time we had to act and we were also terrified, and it was like a big roller coaster of emotions for us.
Yeah, it's really cool to know that like Andy Muschietti thought it was a good idea to traumatize the 13-year-olds, but not the 7-year-olds.
So you didn't get the same treatment.
No,
didn't get a chance to.
Not at all.
Yeah.
They didn't ease you into it at all.
I mean, the only time we really saw Bill Skarsgård outside of makeup was at the table read, but like we barely met him just because you want to keep the distance pretty high until we actually have to see him in full makeup. So we don't really develop a relationship with him, so we see him more as the entity of it rather than Bill Skarsgård in makeup. But that first reveal, I think it was during the projector scene where we first saw what he like actually looked like.
Yeah.
And that was a fun day.
Are you easily spooked now, or it's like you've seen it already, the scope of what scary could be, and now you're not at all afraid of Halloween costumes?
I feel like with the It property, I feel like I get not as scared as I would be because I'm just so familiar with it.
Right.
But for a lot of other horror franchises and stuff, I'm familiar with how the monster works or what that kind of stuff. So Pennywise itself, it's still scary. Don't get me wrong, but I'm used to it.
So yeah, I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but did you all meet with the adult actors beforehand?
No.
No. Did you like to talk about your characters? No.
My credit after the movie was Dead Georgie.
That's really sad.
You brought it down.
Depressing.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite parts about filming the second one was going back to the table read and seeing all 7 of them go through what we got through, and it was really cool to see. It was almost nostalgic for us. It was only like 3 years ago, but it was nostalgic to see us going through the same thing as them.
Have somebody to relate to a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, it was definitely a surreal experience when we first all got together because they had this like speed dating thing where we were all supposed to meet each other. Like all the young losers would sit in one place and then the adults would switch out, but it didn't really work and we just ended up talking to ourselves for half hour. And it was a really weird experience because it took us about 5 minutes to get along with our person. It was almost instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah, kind of organic, just flowed pretty easily. Cool. Did any of y'all meet Stephen King or get advice from him about how to play your characters? Or anything like that?
Sadly, no.
My scene was filmed the day before he filmed his cameo, so I left the day before.
No, I haven't.
You either? No advice via email or anything like that? No?
Just him on Twitter saying this movie's good, which is more than enough, don't get me wrong.
Right. He gave you that validation that you needed.
Yeah.
You either? That's it.
I wish, but no.
Yeah. And have your parents let you see both of the movies?
Yes and no.
No.
Very first time I saw the very first It, no, but then of course, multiple times.
Right.
So after a while, I just at the end when I saw like 2 times ago when I saw the movie, the first one, I saw the whole thing. I'm like, this isn't scary. Well, if I watched it the first time I probably watched it, the reason why I say that it wasn't scary is because I slowly saw it after every single time I saw the movie, so I slowly got to see like a part of it. And yeah, the second one, I told my parents, I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to be scared. I don't have nightmares anymore. I don't even have dreams. And then she's like, okay. Do you want me to say my scariest part? Well,
Yeah,
one of my scariest parts of seeing the
Sure.
I think it would have to be where the girl under the stands. That was creepy for me.
That stuck out to you the most?
Yes. Unexpected.
Yeah. And have you all seen all of the It movies?
Yes, we have seen both.
I haven't seen the whole, but yeah, I've seen both.
See, that's the one that I've seen. I'm traumatized from that one. Yeah. So do you ever get tired of saying you'll float too? Do people make you say it even when you're not?
The very first time I did Comic-Cons, there, like literally 7 out of 10 people that came up, and since this was my first Comic-Con, everybody was asking me.
Yeah.
So, midway, I'm like, Dad, I'm starting to sound like my voice is cracking. He's like, first of all, Jackson, that is not puberty, that is called losing your voice. I'm like, oh, okay. Good to know.
Good to know.
Good to know. And then, so that's why if you come up to my table or something, and if you guys ask for You'll Float Too, I can like say like, hey, someone's name, You'll Float Too, but like I can't say like, what was that? But you get what I mean.
Yeah. You can't razzle dazzle it anymore. You just gotta go straight to the point. So do y'all hang out at a filming? Kid co-stars, yeah?
We all live in such different places, but every single time we get together in the same, at least state, we try to hang out as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's next for you all?
Cool. So I recently wrapped filming a Netflix show in Pittsburgh with my co-star from It, Sophia. Well, with our co-star from It, Sophia Lillis, and that should be coming out sometime next year. I don't know when, but it's the same director as End of the Effin' World, and yeah, so should be cool.
I just wrapped on my new show, Are You Afraid of the Dark, which is a 90s remake series.
I've been seeing trailers on YouTube.
I'm super excited.
I'm trying to watch my documentaries of like animals because I want to be a zoologist when I grow up, and then I randomly see this Nickelodeon sort of horror movie, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, is that Jeremy?
Does that scare you?
No.
Nothing can scare him anymore.
No.
So you're filming Are You Afraid of the Dark, or Are You Scared of the Dark?
Yeah, so I just finished wrapping that, and that'll be out October 11th. So really
right
soon,
in time for
actually.
Halloween.
Yeah, on Nickelodeon.
Yeah. You?
I just finished a Netflix series as well called Lock and Key. The funny thing is they've tried to do it 3 times. Wyatt actually auditioned for Bodhi, which I play, the very first time they tried to make it. That didn't work out, and then Andy...
Which was like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't recent.
No, it wasn't. It was like when he was 10, but like... So then the second time that they made it was with Andy, the director of It, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I get to be a part of something with Andy again. And then Hulu, which was the original one, was like, they just got bought out by Disney, and they're like, oh, we can't say anything yet. And then we're like, fine, whatever, we're just gonna ask Netflix. And then so we got Netflix, but they said, no, you have to redo all the cast, but Bodhi can stay because he's young. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I asked my parents, I'm like, why? And then because they all looked older than they should be. That's what they told me. Don't know, but yeah, that's what they told me. And then we finally made say the final, the whole season, 1 episode through 10, it'll be coming out next year. And I promise you, this will be the final time you will ever hear of another, like, this will be the final cut of it, I guess. Yeah, final cut. Yeah.
So next year.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's been a long journey for that show, Lock and Key.
I'm sure it'll be worth it.
Yes.
All right, well, we're going to turn the questions over to the audience. If you all want to start lining up, we can start taking some questions from you all. See who's first.
Don't be shy. Come on.
Oh, we got a good line forming. Let's get everybody all settled in.
They're like ants. They're just lining
I
up.
want to ask you things. I want to talk to you. Yeah?
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Okay, let's start. What's your name?
My name's John David.
Hi.
Hello.
So, comparing from in chapter 1 and chapter 2, which one would you say is the best one, in your opinion?
It's so hard to compare, just because it's a continuing story. So it's hard to compare in that sense. But filming for us was probably the first one, just because we got to spend so much time on it, and it was our first lead role, and it was such a wonderful experience. But they're hard to compare because it's a continuation.
Hey, one question.
First
okay?
one, yeah, of course. We got to hang out with these dudes. Basically what he just said.
Yeah, I mean, that experience of us all together during that summer was phenomenal, and it's really hard to replicate that. So, you know, and exactly what Jeremy said, it's 2 parts of one big story. So that's what Andy Muschietti views it as, so that's how I view it as well.
Alright, and one more question. Were you scared of Pennywise in chapter 1 or chapter 2 more?
I think chapter 2, honestly.
I was just gonna say chapter 1, just because he doesn't realize. Well, actually, I don't know. Go.
Well, I think if I didn't film in chapter 1, it would be chapter 1, but I didn't know any of the jump scares in chapter 2, because
Yeah.
we didn't really get to read the script
That's
at all.
exactly it.
Yeah, so I think chapter 2 was scarier for me just because I didn't know what was coming, but the first one I did. But I think in chapter 1 it was more of raw Bill Skarsgård. But once again, they're hard to compare.
For you, chapter 1 or chapter 2?
For me, I was chapter 2 because I didn't know when the jump scares were happening, and most of the jump scares in chapter 1 was literally either me getting my arm bit off or something that I've already heard of. It was one of the 2. It was me either saying "Go Float 2" or just me getting my arm bit off by this clown. Yeah. So yeah.
Alright, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
There's his arm's bit off.
Hi, my name's George.
How convenient.
No, right, that's convenient. That's exactly why I did it. And the only question I have was like, out of like all the lines that you have done, like in the entire it series, what was like your best line that you like? Was like, damn, I really like that.
Let me think, hold on. Mine.
I know mine, but yeah. Wait,
Jackson, you go.
okay. Mine, like my 2 lines that I absolutely loved because they're iconic and everybody says, "Can you bite it?" And I'm like, okay. So mine would be "You'll Float 2" in the first one,
Wow, what a
but
surprise.
"You Lied and I Died" really goes deep, so I kind of like that one too as well. Deep.
My favorite is one that was cut out from the first movie when I'm describing Judith, aka the woman in the painting, when I say she's like bad math. That was my favorite line.
Mine was, "Please don't go, girl." That one always stuck with me. People know that line, so.
Do y'all use them outside of the filming?
No. Well, for me, obviously no, because if I was going to say it, people would have been asking me. But It's just kind of weird. Saying it around my friends, they're like, okay. What are you now, a method actor? I'm like, no.
Yeah, I could see how that could get kind of creepy.
And yeah. Thank you for your time.
Hi.
Obviously, filming, of course, you don't have all the special effects that Bill Skarsgård had. But during the final product, what was y'all's reaction to, like, you know, the teeth, the forming and everything? What was y'all's reaction with that?
It was really scary for us, but it was also really fun. I think one of the most fun like scenes to film was the final fight, just because we got to like choreography for it and stuff, and that was my first ever fight scene. And being able to like see his teeth in the trailer and slowly start to see random parts of his makeup, it was really, really cool to see that all together on Bill Skarsgård. So it was amazing for me.
Yeah, I mean that I have to agree. One of my favorite scenes to film was that final fight because we choreographed it so much and just we had a couple days of preparation, and then on the day they like changed it completely, so we had to like relearn it. But it was so cool to like do it, and like there were parts where like Chosen would just have to hold like his pole just in place, like right in front of Bill Skarsgård's mouth, and it's
like what is he reacting to?
And it looks obviously not very. It looks dumb in person, but then once they add all the special effects and everything, it looks, or visual effects, it looks amazing.
For me, it would honestly, because when I was 7, and when they finally finished this, I was about 8, 9. So I kind of knew it was coming, but so we were doing ADR for it. My mom's like, I want to see your arm get bit off, and I'm like, what? And she's like, I just want to see it so I know what's happening, so I don't cry when I see it. And I'm like, okay. But I being the 8-year-old that I am, or 9, I forgot. I didn't want to see it. I think the war is happening.
He really doesn't want to hear our answers at all.
Okay. For me in ADR, when I finally saw that, I had no idea what to expect. Honestly, I thought it was just gonna be this huge, like, teeth, just like blood everywhere, but it actually turned out to be not that bloody, but it was, but like, when he finally, like, when he bit, I was like, whoa. So, I personally thought his teeth were gonna sink in, but when I saw that like that, it was just weird for me, because I'm like, how do physics do that? But being the stupid nerd that I am. But yeah, I mean, but most importantly, the arm, honestly, that wasn't VFX, and I pranked my mom saying it was my eaten salami, and I rubbed it all over her face, and she's like, what is this? And then she opens her eyes, and I'm like, and she's like, is that, wait, what is that? And I'm like, that's my arm. She's like, no, it isn't, and I told her, but yeah. Yeah.
Hi.
Excuse
I have a
me.
question
Can you
regarding
film Mom up
the
there?
scene where y'all jumping off the
Tell me
cliff.
what
Did
you
y'all
think.
actually
Okay,
go
it's already
diving into
filming,
a lake? And did your
So
adult
you can-
actors
yeah.
have to do that as well?
Well, we wanted to.
Well, I did not want to, and they're lying. They did not want to.
Okay.
They would not have jumped off that cliff.
No. Okay. So,
Guys.
when we're standing on the cliff, there is it looks tall, and then there was like a little safety boat that was like running, and we're like, oh yeah, now we can do it, just because we saw the boat, and you know, I think if we were pushed off, we could do it, but.
Well, you'd have to do it at that point.
Well, yeah, okay, and we don't know about the adult actors. I don't. Do you?
I was actually the only loser that was up there while our stunt double jumped off, because Ben wasn't going to jump off. I mean, he did, but not in the actual filming, because they did a take of every single loser jumping off, but I think they only showed Beverly.
And Bill.
Beverly and Bill. So I was up there, but I did not jump off, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Hello. I was wondering what first inspired you guys to be actors?
Me? Well, let me tell you about a story. So my grandpa, being the dude that he is, amazing dude, he just, I don't know, this is kind of a cheesy story, but he just said, I saw something in him. And I'm like, okay. I was 6 when he said this, so I was like, what are you saying? Are you like some psychic? And then he told it to my mom. She was like, no. And then, like, I don't know, 8 years later. Well, no. Like 6. Yeah. 6 years later, here I am now. Yeah. Well, he was the one who inspired me, but you wanna go?
I think when I started acting, I didn't really know what it was. I thought it was all real. I was 8 years old, and then whenever I started doing auditions and stressing out, and I had like mental breakdowns, it was mainly my parents and my brother Zachary, because I would be like crying and I'd like run up to my room and I would refuse to do auditions just because. And he'd come up there and be like, "Hey."
Me at 5.
He was like, "Hey, you have a future." And I was like, "Okay." And I just did the audition. So yeah, I think my biggest inspirations are my parents and my brothers.
No one in your family acts either, right? Besides you?
No.
Or is it in the industry?
Benjamin
I
did,
have my
but he doesn't
uncle,
anymore.
but-
Well, no one in my family at all has been in the industry or like acted before or anything, so I want to tell you a concrete answer, but I don't really have one. I was about 5 when I wanted to, and I asked my mom, and she said no. And then 2 years later, after me repeatedly asking her, she finally said yes when we moved out to Los Angeles, because I originally lived in Chicago. And just persevered, and and sorry, I can't really answer your question in full, but I guess TV. I don't know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, hello, my name's Georgie.
I like your shirt, man. Sorry.
Was there any time during like filming the movie that you were genuinely just filled with fear?
There was one time when we were like walking through the sewers before we were going to start filming, and there was no crew in there or anything. They were just showing us around, and we ended up getting lost. That was on Jack's birthday or something. I don't know, some important day, and we were all like wandering through the sewers, and we got lost. So that was pretty scary. We were like making it a documentary. We were like, guys, we're in the Gary sewers, and it's lame. But that was like pretty much the only time that was like pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, there wasn't really a moment on set, except for like maybe the projector scene where we were truly terrified, because that was like our first time seeing him, like I said earlier. But yeah, I mean, when the hair flips and then it's his face, we were all, I think the ones they used were pretty genuine, like the reactions from all of us. So I'd say that was probably the most scared I was.
Jackson?
Well, this is hard, because when I first saw Bill, everybody is probably like I've had in my life, like maybe 1,000 people ask that question of like, were you scared of Pennywise? And the thing is, it was yes and no. Once again, sorry for the yes and no answers, but it's just, it was kind of hard for me because I already saw him, unlike them, they got scared to death. But I honestly, same, I don't really have a solid answer for you, but if I was gonna have to just name one random, I guess I would have to say, this is actually, the one that I popped in my head wasn't even close to my arm getting bit off or me saying you'll float too. It wasn't actually me even acting. it was when you, my friend, just got bit by Judith and all that, and Jaden saw me running. I was running, and since the sewer was filled with water and it was all like, I sort of humid in there, right? So like the floors were all like, I had to run through a hole, and it was sort of like, it was like slippery on the bottom. I was going, and at the drop, there was water, there was the sewer water. It wasn't, of course, real, thank goodness. But I was running, and I'm like, come on, I'm gonna fall. And you know, after 7 takes from me thinking that, I do. And I honestly was so scared because I just saw all this weird stuff in the water. I was like, it's gonna get in my eyes. But yeah, it wasn't even me just filming or Bill or anything. It was just the shock of me getting drenched in fake sewer water. Yeah, that was gross. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi. Now that you guys can be deemed as famous, do any of your family or friends treat you differently?
No, not for me. I mean, at my school, I've known my friends right from now since kindergarten, so they're all like, yo, that's cool. You want to play some soccer? I'm like, okay, sure. But I mean, some of the teachers at my school, I guess, that haven't known me in like person, like, are like, you're Georgie. Like all the new teachers are like, you're the kid from that horror movie, It. I'm like, yeah. I mean, it was just awkward at first, but then after me being in numerous grades, they've like sort of warmed up to me. So no, for my friends, no, but for like the teachers that don't exactly know me that well, yes. But like all the teachers that I had in the past know me as like the troublemaker. So they're just like, meh. But
Pretty normal.
yeah. So my answer is a solid no.
I think I was fortunate enough to find my best friends before I hit this level, and I think they treat me the exact same, and same with my family. They're very supportive of me, but you know, at the same time, it's like, you know, whenever I go over there, they're not like, hey, can you like get a picture? We play games and stuff. We're just normal kids.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for my family, no, because that's just how family is. They treat you for who you are, not what you've done. Well, they're family, you know, and they've been really great about it. But for my friends, I'd say like only a small amount of them would act differently, but those are more like acquaintances than friends. So for my close friends, like Jeremy said already, no, they were like, oh, cool, you're in the movie, and then we never talked about it again. Well, we do, but like it's not like a normal thing that comes up. Like they don't care, which is good. Like just that they don't care. That sounds weird, but
supportive, but don't like.
Yeah.
Thank you, gracias, señor.
Hello. So what did you guys think of it when you saw him like deflated and essentially kind of torn down?
I like when they would. I mean, there's spoilers. I don't know if I can talk about that.
Who hasn't seen it too? Okay, we've got a few.
Plug your ears. I mean, if we are going to say it, but
That guy says no.
no.
It was cool, but I'm not gonna say too much because I don't want to spoil it for anyone. But it was cool for me to see that ending.
Yeah.
I like the part where they.
Oh yeah.
That part's cool.
Aww, crush. Hey, don't leave me hanging. Yeah. Okay, that was awkward.
You're welcome.
Oh gosh.
Is that You good?
Okay, gracias.
Thank you.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, how did you guys like transform into your guys' characters, like Georgie being the friend Katie is?
For me, Georgie, honestly, what helped me a lot with being Georgie is he's just like me. I mean, not he isn't me, but he is at the exact same time. But it's just, I sort of kind of have like a same lifestyle as him, except we're living in the modern 2019 age, except of the 2019. But yeah, besides the whole boat arm torn off thing, yeah, I sort of have the same lifestyle like him, fun. I mean, I wouldn't say that because that's kind of private, but I guess if you ask my friends, there's your answer. But yeah.
For me, I'm not like a method actor or anything, so it doesn't like, I'm not like in my character all the time. But so I pretty much just pop in and out of it pretty well. But there were a few times like during the bully scenes or during like really intense Pennywise scenes, we'd start like screaming, but before the take, and it would like get us into it and like make us cry and we'd like freak out and stuff like that. But other than that, it was pretty just like pop in and out.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say for the scene where I'm on the floor and my face gets almost bit off, and all that crying and stuff, there was a point where I had to separate it from myself because sometimes after the takes I like wouldn't stop crying just because like I'm already in it and then it just keeps coming out. And so kind of had to distance myself, like here's Stanley and he's really sad right now, and then there's Wyatt, he's not so sad. And I don't really know what to classify that as, but hopefully, I don't know. That's just how I see it, and different things work for different people.
Thank you.
Gracias, senor.
So, what is your fear like in real life?
Probably Jackson.
We're really afraid of that giant ball of energy, afraid he's gonna like tackle you.
For me, honestly, it would either one of my biggest fears that I do not like are heights, because whenever I look down from from a high building, I honestly, as soon as I look down, I'm like, nope, and I get back in the room. But I would have to say are, being in tight spaces and like claustrophobia. Yeah, that would be another. But that's in between heights, and that's a big one. Would have to be not exactly spiders, but because I want to be as well, just when I grow up. So I'm pretty cool with animals. But once I see a spider that I classify as venomous, I start to freak out. So, venomous spiders. Venomous, because venomous, yeah.
And you know which ones are venomous and which ones aren't?
I mean, the cool thing, I live in two places, LA and Arizona. So Arizona has like black widows, so those are easy to classify, and brown recluses that are easy to classify. So I know which ones are the common house spiders and then the other is spiders that send you to the hospital. So yeah, spiders.
I'm afraid of heights and small spaces.
I'm afraid of hotel hallways.
He's not joking.
Is there any reason?
Okay,
Shining
all right.
question mark?
I'm gonna explain it really well. Yeah, sort of shining, but more just like if you're like struggling to get your key in the lock, and then this guy like comes running down the hallway at you. What are you gonna do? You're gonna mess up the key even more, and then you're gonna die. So.
There's a lot of thought behind that one.
That's mine.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my question is, what is your least favorite scenes when filming It's 1 and 2?
there was a really, really hard scene, and it was the only day that I did not enjoy. And that was the one where we're climbing down the well, and then we go in this little hole. Whenever Wyatt gets taken by Judith.
You didn't like that? That was fun.
So fun. That little tunnel was like made of, I don't know what it was made of. It was made of like really, really tough material, and there were like spikes inside of it. And I had to keep like swinging in. I guess they cut that out. Whenever he's like, whenever you get through here, say, oh yeah, like the Kool-Aid Man or something like that. They cut that out. But I swung into that little hole, and I had to like keep holding onto this rope until they said action, and that was a tough day. They cut that out. I never.
That's tough, man.
I don't remember that.
One of the hardest scenes for me that honestly would have to be one of my least favorite. I mean, it was one of my favorites, but one of my least favorites would have to be me running down, because remember, this was artificial rain, and they did not care about your body temperature at all, so it was freezing cold. So I had a raincoat on, but didn't help at all, if you're wondering. It was freezing cold, but one of the things that helped was we were in Toronto in the summertime, but still we're in Canada. So it didn't really help, but it helped at the same time. And especially where I'm talking to Pennywise. Those two scenes, because they were just freezing cold, and I had to do them for like 6 hours, because that's how long you can keep a minor. So they used it to their maximum, and I'm like, I think I'm getting hypothermia. But they just did it a bunch of times, and it wasn't my favorite day. And at the end, the very, very end, when I get my arm taken off, we would have to redo the scenes because my lip would quiver because I'm so cold. But honestly, if I have to be honest, I gotta feel for Bill as well. He's wearing this tight, like, clown suit, and remember, the water is going in the sewer. So he's like getting drenched and all that. So I have to feel for Bill as well. But it was just not my favorite as well. The same reason as the first scene where I'm running and all over and I get hit in the head. By the way, that was fake, obviously. Do you have a Wyatt?
I'd say my least favorite is probably the last day, just because I was like, that's it, and that was a sad day. But I mean, it wasn't like a bad day to film, because for me, I didn't really have a bad day to film, but just saying goodbye to everyone was really tough.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias, señor.
Were you trying to replicate anyone when it was filming? Like, were you trying to, was there anyone you were looking up to
I think for this one, I kind of wanted to try and take my own take on Ben Hanscom. So I tried to do my own thing with this, but
Same answer. I was trying to be like Georgie just by like reading the description of him and just like trying to mimic that as much as I can, just in my own way. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it was more like the adults that kind of had to take inspiration. And I'm not going to say they tried to study us, but well, they did. They studied our characters, and just especially some standouts to me were like Isaiah and Chosen are so much alike, and what Isaiah does and all the mannerisms he copies and the attitude, it's weird. It's weird, but yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, gracias. Gracias, señor.
Yes, my question is, what was your family's reaction when they saw the first movie, and what other horror movie would you guys like to star in?
They were very proud, and they were happy with the result. I mean, all of us were, and it was it was at the premiere, and it was a really good moment, and it was just like, that was what we made, and it was a really I already said it, but it's a really great moment. And the second question.
Shoot, what was the question?
What other horror movie would you start?
Alien.
That's a good one.
I like Alien a lot.
Like, I wish that I would, or I don't know. Actually, Alien would be. I love like crazy, like cool, like aliens and stuff. So, by the way, the Area 51 raid was a hoax. But yeah, I would have to say Alien 1 and Alien 2.
It's aliens.
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 I'd say the one that I would like to star in. I guess this isn't a horror movie at all. I was gonna say I'd love to do a remake of Goonies, but also it's really scary because I think everybody's like too scared to take that on because if you screw it up at all, you're screwed. So they have to completely nail that. So it's a scary project to be a part of. But if it ever comes up, I'd love to try. Maybe.
Yeah.
You have another movie you thought of?
I mean, this one isn't actually a horror movie, but I would really like to be in a remake of Home Alone.
Oh, that'd be a good one.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's scary if you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of people getting whacked to death by a little kid.
Yeah.
I mean, they get beat up pretty good. Ask me.
But it could be scary. All right, we have time for one more question and then we're gonna wrap things up. But before we do, we're gonna take a picture of these guys with the crowd, so make sure you stay behind for the picture. Hi.
Hello. What's your favorite memory of each other off the set?
Favorite memory?
That is really hard.
There's so many.
Wow.
You guys
Good
being
question.
good people, you know?
It's
Hanging out with you guys. Yeah.
It was actually. I won't give you the same standard answer I give everybody. I'll try to think of something new this time. Because It Chapter 2, the premiere, after it was such a bittersweet moment because that was the end. And the thing that we've put our blood, sweat, and tears into for so long has finally,
Final product,
that's it. So at the very end of It Chapter 2, at the premiere in the theater, Jack came up and just hugged me and Wyatt, and we just sat there for like 30 seconds.
I hugged you first. Just saying.
So
Go
me
on.
and Wyatt hugged, and then Jack joined, and it was just like such a sentimental moment because it was like
Was I there
it was
when
the
you
end of
guys
the
did that? Because I saw you guys huddling. Wait, was I like
You joined in, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was just.
Oh God, this is awkward.
It was just such a sentimental moment, and it was the end of everything, and we went through it all together, and it was a wonderful moment.
Yeah. Gracias, señor and señoritas.
That's good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna take a photo. I don't know where I guess just
everybody.
Up here. Alright, we're gonna face this way.
Oh, wow.
Hola.
Jackson, say your joke again. Hold on, say it.
Gracias, señores and señoritas, for this amazing day. Thank you guys so much.